I bet I understand you pretty well. You're just like me. What do you want? You want safety and security for your family. Preservation of whatever level of wealth you've been able to accrue during your lifetime. But how do you do that? It's real simple. You be your own central bank. And I'm going to explain to you why and how you can do that in this video. But first, I want to touch on the big announcement today from the Federal Reserve. They haven't announced it yet, but I want to shine some light on what I think is the new paradigm that we're entering, where gold, where silver are going to be positioned for some really great gains in value. And that's what we want. That's what you and I are going to talk about right now. I'm making this video before the big Fed announcement. I don't care what they say. Most likely they said 0.5% interest rate hike. And I don't care what Jerome jawboned about during his press conference, which will have a big impact on the price of silver and gold. The reality is, I believe we're at an inflection point. Is anybody else seeing this? Do you see this? Are we at a point where, in a nutshell, the laws of mathematics are catching up with the Federal Reserve? The economy in 2023. I saw a stunning chart last night that showed the level of interest expense being accrued by the U.S. government because of these higher interest rates, that $30 trillion in debt we have. The laws of math have caught up with both the Federal Reserve and the United States government, and likely the U.S. economy as well, where there's even a more extraordinary level of overall debt. I really believe we're at a pivot point, a changing point, where the realities of all this financial shenanigans and mismanagement are going to come home to roost and begin to be recognized within the precious metals prices. Don't you worry. I remember that I promised to tell you how you can be your own central bank, and we are going to get to that. But I think it's important for us to remember, with all the shenanigans I mentioned earlier with the government and the debt and everything else, on top of that, from a precious metals perspective, right now we are seeing in the world, in particular in the East, the BRICS nations, a big move towards gold and silver, platinum and palladium being recognized as value, being recognized even as a medium of exchange, and that move only continues to gather steam. And speaking of the East and all over the world, I need to say a special hello to Courtney and Natalie Keefe in Southern Australia. That's like the other side of the world. One of our loyal viewers and commenters, Ricktor08, asked that I do that. So Courtney and Natalie, welcome to the basement. Even the bear is saying hello to you today. But from wherever you are joining me, yes, you, right? Because right now I'm making the video, but right now you're watching it. We are together here in the basement. I'm glad you're here. Welcome to the family. If you enjoy the content, please subscribe, turn on the bell. That way you'll get notified every time I put out a new video. Now, let's get back to the important matter at hand, which is, how can you get safety and security? How can you be your own central bank? Well, it's real easy. You can do this. I'm a silver guy. Get yourself some silver. Get yourself some gold. What are the central banks of the world doing? I was thinking about this the other day. I don't know if this has dawned on you yet, but maybe I'll dawn it on you right now. What do the central banks of the world hold? The United States has 8,000 tons of gold. What about Europe? I was looking at the statistics for Europe. Germany, France, Italy, they hold also very huge, significant amounts of gold in their central banks. What about the East? We know they hold a lot of gold, and they're buying more gold and precious metals. We know that in the third quarter of this year, there was a record amount of gold purchased by central banks. What are the central banks doing? The most sophisticated, outside of Ron's basement investors, of course, they're buying gold. So why don't we look at what they're doing holding and buying significant amounts of gold and maybe not pay so close attention to what they're saying. We're going to run through a fascinating list of why holding gold and silver can make you your own central bank. But look at this first, right? There it is. A really pretty Christmas round given to me, which was very nice by one of my loyal viewers, Mark, here in St. Louis. I love this coin. I love to look at it. I'm so tempted to take it out of the plastic sleeve, but I won't. Now, the important thing to remember about this is when I hold this, it's mine. There's no counterparty risk. I'm not relying on some banker. I'm not relying on some CEO at a company that I own stock in. I'm not relying on the government. I'm not relying on anybody for the value of this except my ability to hold on to it. And you can't say that about almost any other asset out there. That's why the central banks hold it. That's why with at least maybe part of your assets, you might want to hold it because when you hold it, it's yours. And no matter where in the world you live, it is valuable. I heard somebody say this: gold and silver are apolitical. That means not political. Even when the world cannot agree on anything, they can agree on the value of gold and silver. Again, you can't say that about almost anything. And on top of it, I'll repeat, you can hold it in your hand. So while you're at your fancy country club this weekend, you can also tell your cohorts that precious metals provide liquidity, safety, and returns. Look at gold in 1971, like $35 an ounce. Look at gold today, close to $1,800 an ounce. I'll say that I think it's done pretty well. Look at what precious metals have done this year compared to almost any other asset class. Sure, they haven't gone to the moon, but they've pretty much held their own at this point. And you can't say that about stocks. I don't think you can say that about a lot of real estate. I don't think you can say that about bonds either. And what about this other factor why the central banks love their precious metals? Because it can't be printed or diluted. You can't say that about fiat currencies. Vladimir Putin even recently said, we are moving away from an economy of imaginary wealth to an economy of real wealth, real things. Things like silver, gold, oil. The world is changing. And there's only one silver and only one gold. There's only so much in the Earth's crust. It takes a tremendous amount of energy to get it out of the ground. So people like to say that this, a silver round, or if you're lucky enough to have a gold 1 ounce coin, that actually represents stored energy. And it will hold that and hold that value probably for the next 5,000 years, like it has for the previous 5,000 years. So let me know what you think. For me, if I want to provide safety and security to my family, I want to hold some physical metal, and I also choose to hold some gold mining stocks. When I look at what the central banks are doing, not what they're saying, what they're doing, I feel safe. When I look at history, I feel safe. I look at silver, I look at gold, I look at precious metal mining stocks as the base, the foundation, right? Have no debt and have some metals, have some mining stocks if you want to be a little more risky, but it's the foundation of my financial security. Hey, just my opinion. I don't have a crystal ball. Don't make any financial decisions or relationship decisions or decide to adopt a puppy or anything along those lines based upon what I've shared with you today. But I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed your visit here to Ron's Basement. You know you're always welcome here, and I'm going to look forward to seeing you, yes, you, next time.